Get up from the land where the beaches grow. Before the top where we amazed when we get some snow. Legendary icon, step where my children grow. Some call them Ray, some call them Charles, just to name a few, and I get it. They think we ain't from the city, we ain't really getting it. Tell them listen, we stepping outside of our daughters, some acres and chickens, make me big. You know, we ain't nothing but bread, shaking that they pretty. Want a million. Either rapping, the trapping, the way you gon' get it. Money on the floor like corn from the kitchen. Money in the door, face head, the quit face video on my shoulders right next to the cube. And just loud, feeling like a new retreat. We most ain't smelling me. My life, great shit, nigga. It's a moving. Whole lot of motion, making this with the movement. Success, down, lay down. But so many said it was 10 told me to stay around. I put that shit on dying brown. She was drying brown. Till I got water, really green and got shit sprout. Now I got these Georgia streets. You still bang with the pieces, but it's all of them. I got Georgia streets. I'm taking right in my town. Holding it down, Georgia. The many cold cases long in order. From Georgia. Taking pictures versus oranges down in Florida. I know the ones who always lay down, never lay down. With so many said it was 10 told me to stay around. I put this shit on dying round. She was drying round. Till I got water, made it green and got shit sprout. Now I got these Georgia streets. Still bang with the pieces, but it's all of them. I got Georgia streets. I'm taking right in my town. I know the world lay down, never lay down. When so many said it was 10 told me to stay around. I built this shit on dying brown. She was drying brown. Till I brought water, made it green and got shit sprout. Now I got these Georgia streets. You still fan of the peaches, but it's all I got Georgia streets. Come take a ride in my town where we holding it down.
Peace, love, divine light, society. It's your host, Nexus, here, and I'm grateful to have another opportunity and another chance to be before you. Our topic this round is healthy communities, healthy minds. And if you're new to Marz Majik, do know that this is where conversation meets consciousness, where culture meets community, and where healing is active. All right. And so let's get that little glare going. So the last time we were together, we actually had a chance to sit down and talk about pivoting and being able to adapt and adjust. All right. And not only that, about keeping it real, keeping it authentic, and being true to you. And so tonight we shift gears just a little bit. Not in guest mode. This is most definitely a solo show, so there will not be an interview, just community conversation and dialogue. So I thank you and appreciate everyone for tuning in. Wherever you are, we declare that this Marz is being kind and that you are out there making the magic happen. If you are not aware, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and mental health isn't just about counseling appointments, going to see a therapist, and crisis intervention. It's about our children, it's about our community, it's about public safety, and again, community investment, and whether we're actually creating environments where people can truly thrive. So this afternoon, we're here with a noonday special on healthy communities and healthy minds, because the two are inseparable. All right. And so, as always, before we go into the meat of our conversation, I would like to start us off with a breathing exercise. And so, we will inhale for 3, hold, exhale for 3, hold, and repeat twice. All right. On 3, breathe with me. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Yes, and I declare that you are feeling better, that breath work helped us to be able to reset. All right, so do know and understand that the views and perspectives expressed during this program are intended to educate, inspire thoughtful dialogue, and encourage community engagement. This broadcast is not intended to replace any professional medical help when it comes to mental health, legal matters, or emergency services. So, if you or someone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis, please ask for immediate professional support. All right. Before we dive in, though, I do want to take a moment and acknowledge individuals this past weekend or organizations that put together some amazing community events this past weekend. So shout out first and foremost to our coroner for continuing to sponsor and organize the Swim for Life initiative as a summer program being offered to the youth and families here in the Southwest Georgia, Albany area. And it was amazing to see so many of us out, so many of our young people out excited, not only for summer, but to be able to experience swim during the summer and sign up and, gain all of the information and resources that they need to be able to have a safe, water-friendly summer. All right. And I say that because for too long, the stigma and misconception of us as Aboriginal people, melanated people, people of color, however you choose to identify, do not swim. We have a fear of the water, all of these things. And far too often, our children are experiencing drowning. And drowning is said to be one of the highest forms of death, especially in the summertime. And so we want to make sure that we are constantly pushing efforts to eliminate this stigma and misconception, all right? And that we are being proactive and actually getting our children swim lessons. And the beautiful thing about it is that they weren't just offering swim lessons to the children. If you are an adult and you do not know how to swim, they were also offering those services to the adults. And so far too many families underestimate the importance of water safety until tragedy strikes. And so swimming isn't simply recreation and fun all the time. It is actually a life skill. It helps to build confidence. And not only that, it's about survival. All right. And programs that teach our young people how to safely navigate water most definitely deserve our support. Also, shout out to the Department of Public Health. District 12 showed up and showed out on Saturday as well with their spaceship safari, or their space safari day, in collaboration with the Thronatiska and the planetarium. And so again, our health, we most definitely have to begin to take our health more serious and start to teach our children again, our youth at a younger age, how to be proactive when it comes to healthy habits, eating, exercise, just knowing and being aware of what services and activities are available when it comes to these types of things. And community health most definitely starts with awareness, much like everything else. And if they continue to say that we as a people perish for a lack of knowledge, that information is not accessible when the information is accessible and being put out there, we most definitely have to not only spread the word, because no news travels faster than word of mouth. And so we as community members, when we see it, when we hear it, we most definitely have to make sure that we are sharing this information so that more of our people can start to take advantage of the opportunities and resources that are available. And so this round, I'm also going to shift it just a little bit because we're going to go ahead and tap into our herbal corner. Every Marz Majik, we highlight our herbal allies as a form of herbal support, going back to those ancient traditional methods of medicine and connection when it comes to herbs and roots. And so, first up is oat straw. Oat straw is often used by herbalists for people experiencing chronic stress, burnout, nervous exhaustion, and emotional fatigue. And I'm going to explain why this is so important in just a little bit as we continue to dive into mental health and what a healthy mental state can look like. All right. So, what makes oat straw unique is that it is often that it doesn't force energy. And a lot of times we are forcing ourselves to do, to be, to show up. And oat straw allows us to just go with the flow for a little bit as a nourishment. And so many of us are trying to push through exhaustion instead of rebuilding ourselves. Oat straw reminds us that restoration is productive as well, because um our brother CJ reminded us that we cannot recreate if we don't recreate. All right. And so recreation helps to um energize and boost those gears that we need to actually be able to be productive and to continue to recreate, redefine not only ourselves, but what the world around us looks like. All right. And so next up, I'm gonna only do two today, is skull cap. And skull cap has long been used for nervous tension. And so when we think about racing thoughts, stress related restlessness, if you've ever just been in your bed tossing and turning, can't seem to get to sleep, you just uncomfortable, you're overstimulated. Sometimes our minds aren't broken. They just need a break. All right. And so Skull Cap helps us to unload when we're overloaded. Representing the importance of slowing down before burnout turns into crisis. And a lot of times that's exactly what is needed, is for us to take a moment. And I mean, we look at the commercials. Shout out to them for give me a break, give me a break. We don't necessarily need to be broken off a piece of a Kit Kat bar. However, or we might need a fast break, but not a Reese's. You feel me? And so, but it's the messaging that they are using to get us to go out and buy these things, right? And so we have to pay attention to the message sometimes and not necessarily the messenger. Why are they saying, give me a break? Because we need a break. Why are they talking about, oh, hangry, grab a? Because when we are experiencing overstimulation, mental fatigue, exhaustion, um, That's what we need. We need a fast break. Hey, I'm taking me 5. I'll be right back. Hey, just give me a second. I need a break. Do things like we do when we start off this program. Take a moment and just breathe. A lot of times that's all we need to do because unknowingly to us, sometimes we are moving through the day and not breathing at all, let alone breathing with intention and properly. Yes. All right. And so, as we honor our ancient herbs, we move right into our history moment and honor one of our legends in her own right, an ancestor that has left behind some amazing work and legacy, that being Dr. Mamie Phipps Clark. This afternoon on Marz Majik, we spotlight and honor Dr. Mamie Phipps Clark. Born in Arkansas in 1917, Dr. Clark became one of the first Black women in America to earn a doctorate in psychology. During the 1940s, she and her husband, Dr. Kenneth Clark, conducted what became known as the doll studies. Black children were shown identical dolls, differing only in skin color. Researchers asked which doll was nice, which doll was smart, which doll was pretty, which doll was bad, and which doll looked like them. Many children assigned positive traits to the white dolls and negative traits to the Black dolls. Think about it. Children had already begun absorbing messages about value and identity before reaching adulthood. Her research became part of the evidence used during Brown versus Board of Education in 1954. What Dr. Clark understood was simple yet powerful. Mental health begins long before adulthood. Children are constantly learning who they are from the environments around them. And if we don't initially and intentionally build healthy environments, someone else will shape those beliefs for them. And with that being said, we're going to take a quick break before we dive into the heart of this conversation because it's about to get deep. This is Both of Them by Rico Goldstar.
What a better choice between this and that, and want both of them. End of story. Give me that money, that power, that love, and that pain. I want all of that and the glory. Tired of weighing my options in my reality. I threw my scale out the door because the only thing that I should stand on this business. During crunch time, I work with the court. It's about time let me up the score. I can't break it even if I want more. And I'm playing to get it. I got it. I can't live without it. Without it, I might go to war. Talking about having my dreams and my baby together. I think that's the greatest reward. You must be out of it. If you think otherwise, go flip it off like you got the war. Now open your eyes. I got better vision. Not good with math. I don't do the vision. Can you listen? I'm simple with 2 decisions. I've decided to not even make a decision. I want it all. I want nothing less. I can't do it. Never better. Know if I look like I'm under the weather. It's fine because I asked for that kind of pressure. I want to battle. I told her to choose. Because if I make a choice, then somebody lose. I want it all. I don't want to feel it. Because if you try to give me out, you want it to, then I will tell you. I want to go. I don't want to choose. Because if I make a choice, then somebody lose. I want it all. I don't want to feel it. Because if you try to give me out, you want it to, then I will tell you. Give me vote. 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 Give me up. 1, 2. Now one second. I want to get all the Grammys. I'm trying to have a few platinums. My mama told me to go hard at everything. That's how you gotta get at them. Plenty of fish in the sea. You gotta know how to catch them. You're gonna need the right bait for the right one. Get active. Right one with the good heart and the right brain is attractive. I don't need a temporary vibe. I need a work of art. That's a classic. No more looking to the streets. There's an asphalt distraction. Purple ball with the road rage. I want the whole lane when I'm dashing. Oh, what I want and it's everything. Sky's the limit. I want it, I get it, and I stay committed to everything. Married to music is true, and I didn't have to spend a whole band on a wedding ring. Set them apart, I do, and I mean it. I know it's a bond, I ain't severing. All my problems light as a feather. I call it light work, real tight. I don't let the crosshairs out of sight. I'ma shoot my shot. I don't need a theme. I'm a gold star. I don't need a light. I'm already bright enough as it is. And to myself, I made an oath. I'ma have my cake and eat it too. What's the point in not having both? Cause I want both. I don't want to choose. Cause if I make a choice, and some I lose. I want it all. I don't want to feel it. So if you try to hear me out, just one and two, then I will tell you, I will both. I don't want to choose. Cause if I make a choice, then some I lose. I want it all. I don't want to feel it. So if you try to hear me out, just one and two, then I will tell you, give me both, 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 both. If you try to give me that one, two, and I will tell you, give me both, both.
Yes, peace, love, divine light. Welcome back. You're now tuned in to Marz Majik, brought to you by V.O.I.C.E.S Radio, where valuable opportunities inspire collaborations to elevate society. I am your host, Nexus, bringing you the motivation and inspiration to get you through the rotation. This afternoon, we are talking about healthy communities and healthy minds as we acknowledge and honor Mental Health Awareness Month. All right. And so, if we're just being all the way honest, getting straight into it, right? And just to recap, we've already gone over the weekend recap and community events, as well as our Herbal Corner in History Moment. Shout out to our ancestor, Mamie Phipps Clark, for the work that she did when it came to the doll study. All right. And so, following up with that, mental health deserves so much more attention than what it gets. And it also requires for us to have a different level of open heart and open mind that a lot of our elders are not accustomed to, that we were not necessarily taught. And not because people are weak. And that is a bit of the stigma that has been placed around mental health and our brothers and sisters that have a seemingly unhealthy mental state, right? And the fact of the matter is that we are all faced with pressure, and focusing primarily on our young people who are faced with more pressure. I mean, we thought we were pressured just on, having to see folks every day, and, the potential of somebody joining, finding something to joke about, and we just kind of reduce some of those people to being bullies, right? However, in the day and time that we are currently living in, these stresses and pressures are hitting them harder and earlier than ever before, thanks to social media, the music that we listen to, um, the shift in societal norms when it comes to clothes and brand names and what is considered cool or in trending, not to mention family instability, the violence or increase in violence that we are seeing and hearing about within our community on a day-to-day, the pressure of test anxiety and having to live up to a certain status when it comes to school and grades, and defying the odds when it comes to socioeconomic challenges and uncertainties. Even when we think about our food and food insecurity and the lack of food sovereignty, even, it's constant exposure to traumatic events and experiences. And we're seeing these issues at younger and younger ages when we have elementary age students being coerced into committing horrific acts by people over video games. When we have them, like, even at 5 years old, being diagnosed with post traumatic stress disorder. And it's like, they're five, they just got here. How could they possibly? Because there is a thing called pre exposure when children are being carried in the womb. Like, they are still susceptible to the trauma that the mother is experiencing and the trauma of the environment around them. When we have middle school age students experiencing depression and battling with eating disorders, when we have teenagers experiencing uh, home displacement and losing everything, young adults feeling disconnected despite being more connected digitally than any generation before them. Mental health support should not begin after crisis strikes. It should begin before. And oftentimes in biopic communities, it's become normalized as a form of survival when we think about the messaging that is often pushed, right? It's all about being strong, pushing through, getting over. Um, we just keep going. And one of my favorites, pray about it. And while faith is powerful, faith and mental health support are not enemies. And oftentimes it's looked at, and it was brought up in a meeting that I attended the other day that, if you have a mental health imbalance, that you're not praying enough, that, you're not focused on the deliverance enough, that you're not opening yourself up to actually receive what you need to not have to deal with those things anymore. But we're saying this in communities that continue to experience at a higher rate than most poverty, violence, mass incarceration, family separation, substance abuse, unresolved trauma. Again, when we think about our children who've experienced, and I'm talking about for generations and centuries, children that have experienced all forms of violence, even when we think about our elders and our parents and children of the civil rights movement and those who were actually, attacked by dogs and water hoses. Now, those are traumatic experiences. Those that had crosses burned on their front yards, that had the Klan come in and kick their door downs and snatch family members out. Those are traumatic experiences. And oftentimes, oh, well, we just gonna pray about it. God's gonna see us through. We gonna make it. It's gonna be all right. You know, trouble don't last always, but we're not actually healing from these things. We aren't actually taking the time to process our feelings and our emotions and what those things have done to us mentally and emotionally, even spiritually, sometimes physically. And we're just told, okay, well, we just gonna throw a band-aid on it and keep moving. But what happens when we have to take that band-aid off? And those children grow up to be adults holding on to those unresolved traumas. And now they bear fruit. And they have young people who are attached to those same unresolved traumas. and who are being reared and guided based off of those same traumas. And they grow up to have offspring that what? Have now 2, 3 generations of unhealed, unresolved trauma on top of whatever trauma that they themselves directly endure, encounter. So just think about the layers of trauma that an individual could potentially have. Say, for instance, I could currently be carrying not only my trauma and my unhealed issues, I could be carrying that of my mother, of my grandmother, of my great grandmother, of my great great grandmother, of my great 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 grandmother and her mother, on top of everything that I experienced that is a traumatic experience on this side. And so at some point, we have to really, as a people, sit down and stop saying, oh, how could you be depressed? I ain't never heard of no depression. We ain't dealt with that. We just pray about it and keep going. Oh, well, I just take me a nightcap, and then that nightcap turns into a day cap, and that cap goes from a cap to a shot glass to a cup to a bottle, and now all we see is a drunk. But we don't see all of the things that led up to this person actually becoming an alcoholic. We don't see and understand that they are carrying the burdens and the stresses of 5 generations before them on top of their own unresolved issues, and they don't know how to decipher what is their baggage from the next person's baggage. And you told them to get over it. And for a minute, that nightcap was their way of getting over it. But when that cap wasn't capping no more, it turned into a cup. But them issues ain't went nowhere. So that cup turns into a bottle because them issues ain't went nowhere. So now we drowning in sorrow because them issues ain't going nowhere because nobody cares about what's going on with me. They just care about how I show up and how I perform. The trauma doesn't disappear, people. It only shifts and transforms. Sometimes it becomes anger, sometimes depression, sometimes addiction, sometimes it looks like violence, sometimes it's introverted silence. Think about our nonverbal babies. Is it really that they can't talk, that they don't want to talk, or that the trauma that they have endured from the womb to this side was so horrific that they've chosen to take a vow of silence as an infant? Do we not understand how powerful that is? The misdiagnosis that our children and our people are receiving, the lack of proper attention, awareness, care, and concern, even when these signs and symptoms are showing up. Because if you got a community where only 10% of the people are operating in healing or even attempting to heal, but the mass majority is operating in unhealed trauma, unresolved childhood issues, who has time to pay attention to that nonverbal baby and really get to the root of why a baby would not want to talk? Pain finds somewhere to go, always. And so when we think about our school systems, when we think about our first responders, the one thing that does not get pushed enough, the thing that does not get discussed enough is the mental health training and the fact that it should be mandatory in these institutions and in these service organizations. EMS, police, officers, sheriffs, firefighters, educators, after school workers, recreational workers, anybody that has any type of interaction on a regular basis with the general public, down to our Department of Family and Children Services, those individuals that assist individuals with SNAP benefits, there should be a certain level of mental health training, prevention, not just crisis training, but preventive training for you to be able to notice and be aware and alert of possible signs of our neurodiverse population, whether it's nonverbal, whether it's the deaf, whether it's the blind population, whether it's individuals that have been labeled and diagnosed with autism, ADHD, PTSD, bipolar schizophrenia, whatever the case is, like there should be mandatory training across the board, again, for teachers, bus drivers, coaches, school resource officers. And I cannot stress this enough. Police officers, sheriffs, because usually 9 times out of 10, the police is going to be the first person called to respond to a potential crisis situation. Correctional officers, everybody at this point in time, gas station workers, like so serious. It should be made even an option for individuals who do not work in these types of settings to be able to get this type of training just as an added skill set when it comes to, again, dealing with people, our commissioners, our city commissioners, county commissioners, our school board. It ought to be mandatory for the superintendent, for the mayor, for the city manager. All of them should have mental health training, and not just crisis training, mental health training across the board, because these are often the first people interacting with individuals in crisis. Imagine if every educator received annual training in trauma awareness. De-escalation, 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 de-escalation. I'm going to say it again. De-escalation, suicide prevention, emotional intelligence, conflict resolution. Going back to emotional intelligence, y'all make sure y'all tune in tomorrow via Clubhouse for the new Word Up Wednesday conversational series starting at 9 p.m. the first and third Wednesday. The first conversation out the box is emotional intelligence versus logic, man versus woman. Yes, I'm telling you, it's a mental health thing. So imagine if every first responder received these same trainings: trauma awareness, de-escalation, suicide prevention, emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence and de-escalation, oh my goodness, how they go together. Because again, we have individuals who are working in law enforcement, walking around carrying guns, handcuffs, mace, tasers, weapons that can cause major bodily harm or death. And a lot of them are operating out of a unhealthy mental space. Many of our sheriffs, many of our police officers, many of our judges and law enforcement, lawyers, even operating out of an unhealthy mental space, overwhelmed, burnout, exhaustion, stresses of their family, trying to be the go getter, the one to break the generational curse, all of these things. All of these things. But guess what? A lot of them lack emotional intelligence. And they see somebody that reminds them of a person that did them wrong, did their mama wrong, did their uncle wrong when they were growing up and they saw it. And now this case reminds me of the story that I heard about my great great grandfather, and I'm going to give you punishment just because. Oh, you look like such and such. Just imagine if our first responders received the same trainings. Conflict resolution. They need it, because if they didn't, we wouldn't hear so many stories about our teachers, our school resource officers, our lawyers and judges violently responding to children in school and out of school, to their family violence, domestic violence, emotional intelligence, de-escalation, conflict resolution, risk reduction. Not to make them therapists by no means, but to make them prepared and aware and capable of dealing with situations. We spend millions responding to the crisis. Why not spend a few dollars on how we can actually prevent the crisis from happening in the first place? What if we invested more in prevention? Meanwhile, talking about investing in prevention, because the one reason we should invest in prevention is because the most uncomfortable question communities should ask is, why are so many people with untreated mental health issues incarcerated? Why specifically in Albany, Dougherty County, is the Dougherty County Jail the biggest mental health facility in the region? And they do not have qualified staff, to respond to a crisis, let alone to prevent another crisis from happening while these individuals are in their care. All right. So facilities designed for punishment are increasingly becoming or being asked to manage people who need treatment. That should concern everyone. We should be investing in counseling, intervention, and prevention long before someone enters the criminal justice system. If we have organizations and institutions like Aspire, ARC, Benchmark, Archibald, what is happening when there is a crisis and these individuals come for services? Are they receiving quality care and services? Are they actually being treated properly? Or are they being turned away for not having, again, adequate staff, adequate bedding, adequate training? I mean, especially considering the fact that summer is here, right? Summer, summer, summertime, summertimes. And we have so many families who are feeling the impact of fewer available programs. And I'm not talking about just here in Dougherty County, I'm talking about around the globe, right? However, I do want to say shout out to Albany, Dougherty County, and every and anybody who popped up with the summer program, whether it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the whole summer, free, reduced. Shout out to you all for coming together as a community to fill the gap in our community when it comes to summer programs and resources that are being offered and available to families. The brother Lawrence McCray and his team over at East International came through with an amazing program from the 1st of June to the middle of July. Free lunch for the month of June and breakfast, field trips, activities, low price. Y'all check him out. The sheriff's department program, like 450 students maxed out, and they partnered with a lot of organizations within the city. Again, things like the Swim for Life. It sold churches, everybody, anybody who put up a program, because we know that we are down. I mean, when we think about having 2 recreational facilities offline with Henderson and Bill Miller, when we think about the fact that, and I love my HBCU, but I don't know what these administrators be coming in here and doing, and they think they're doing something for the greater good, but it actually ends up hurting more people than their alternative is going to help, especially when, never mind, we ain't gonna get on that. But the discontinuation of the National Youth Sports Program, aka NYSP, that has served our community and hundreds of children and the families. And when I can hear my mom say, I was one of the first counselors for NYSP, and I can see what were her students at 6 and 7 talking to her as 50-year-olds right now, talking about the impact of NYSP on their lives. Like, what are we doing? We need NYSP and we need more programs like it to stay in our communities, especially when they're working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. All right. Did I mention that again? Here we go with SNAP again. Georgia has decided not to participate in the summer EBT food assistance program. And there's been a lot of back and forth on the internet as to why this is or isn't good, why it does or doesn't matter. However, again, when we talk about food sovereignty, when we talk about community food systems, we have to reallocation of funding. Point blank, period. Long story short, did ASU say why they stopped? President decided to reallocate the funds. All right. We're back at it. And so it's amazing that we have these summer programs that are being offered, because many of them come along with at least 2 meals, breakfast and lunch. Some of them are doing like breakfast, lunch, and a snack. So we really have to get involved, pay attention to the resources that are being offered to help supplement and offset those expenses. Again, support the community gardens. Get to know a local gardener, a local farmer. Get out there. It's the summertime. Yes, it's hot. But guess what? They out there and they're not complaining, and they're growing crops that they are willing to share for the free ski, many of them. And so please get connected. All right. Families are asked to do more with less, and this is across the board. I mean, we see it happening. And so the questions become, who fills the gap? We see who fills the gap. Community fills the gap. Organizations partnering, coming together, collaborations fill the gap. Can churches help? churches can most definitely help. And speaking of churches helping, shout out to Mount Zion with the opening of the Legacy Wellness Center right there at the corner of Jefferson and Oglethorpe. It's a new Samaritan clinic where individuals can go and receive wellness services for a low cost. All right. Is there a summer program for horse training or horseback riding? There is. The Smiths with I forget the name of their actual horse business. But they do provide horse lessons. And they provide them not only in the summer but year round. And so churches most definitely can help, and churches can help a lot more than what they do. I'm not gonna get on that box. Just know I said what I said. All right. Retired educators can most definitely help. Y'all know I'll give you a whole breakdown on how all of these individuals can come together and help as a collective to make sure that our community never has to lack when it comes to summer programs, never have to lack when it comes to after school programs, why our community should never be lacking when it comes to adult literacy, let alone literacy in general, even for our young people. All right. And so local businesses can help, sponsorships, donations. Neighborhoods can organize mentorship circles, community gardens. Young people don't just need supervision, they need purpose. They need to know that they are valued. They need to know that they matter, that someone cares. All right. That sense of connection, of belonging is priceless. All right. And so, just a little quick announcement. I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. June 16th, runoff elections are approaching, and whether people enjoy politics or not, um, decisions are being made. Budgets. People are talking about what we call it, the minimum wage, the pay rate for Georgia, low, $7.25 an hour, ridiculous. If we want to see things like this shifted when it comes to budgets, when it comes to how our tax dollars are being spent, these tricks with the fluff, right? Programs, Parks and Rec. Yo, did you know that in the city of Albany, the majority of our parks, our city parks, our community parks, are in holding zones? They are in low areas where water holds, and it prevents our children from actually being able to enjoy those spaces. Why did they put our community parks in holding ponds? Think about it. I mean, just think about it. Next time you ride past one of the neighborhood parks, one of the community parks, tell me I'm lying. All right. When we think about roads, our roads are horrible. Public safety, youth opportunities, economic development, leadership matters, the preserving of historical landmarks. Voting may not solve everything, but it is a start. We have to at least get involved, because disengagement doesn't solve anything either. All right. And so, speaking of votes, it is important that we get in our city commissioners, our county commissioners, our mayor, our city managers' ear and let them know that we do not want data centers. We do not want data centers. We do not want them. We do not need them. Data centers, what is it? Why is it? Data centers, supporters point to jobs and economic investment, right? However, these individuals that would come in here and build the data centers are going to bring their own teams. The people that are going to operate these data centers are going to bring their own teams. not really true that there are going to be more jobs and economic improvement for the actual citizens who live in these small rural towns that happen to be the target for these mass data centers and the use of our natural waterways like the Flint. Supporters, opponents raise concerns about water consumption, energy demands, environmental impact, infrastructure strain, limited permanent employment. The question isn't whether technology is important. The question is whether communities fully understand both the benefits and the costs before decisions are made. All right. And so, if you have not begun to do your research on data centers, I encourage you to do so, because a data center being brought to Albany, Georgia is on the table when it comes to our city manager and our mayor, as well as one of the city commissioners, Chad Warburton. And so you want to make sure that you do your research, because these three individuals, if we do not get the full support of the other commissioners, could potentially swing the vote in their favor. And we see what happened to Flint with their water crisis. And so imagine that 100 times, 10,000 times worse when it comes to the water contamination, the radiation and unhealthy energy that is being put out. Yeah, just not good for us. It's something that we don't need. I mean, when we think about our utility board and things of that nature and the strain that is already being put on the people, we most definitely have to protect ourselves. And we need to, as a city, as a mass, look back at how our city is actually run, with the citizens at the top, followed by your city manager and mayor and your commissioners. We, the people, hold the power. However, if we do not address it and hold them accountable for the decisions that they are making, quote unquote, on our behalf, we're going to continue to see our city decline. And talking about our physical health declining, it contributes to our mental health. So these are things to pay attention to. Also, things to pay attention to this summer as the temperature continues to rise is making sure that you stay hydrated, check on your elders, use sunscreen if and when necessary, learn basic water safety. If you did not get your children registered for Swim for Life, that's okay. There are other programs and services that you can reach out to make sure that your children are learning and prepared to have fun in the sun around water. All right. Never leave your children unattended near pools or open water. If you don't know how to swim, make sure you also get yourself that water safety training. All right. Know the signs of heat exhaustion and heat stroke. Last but certainly not least, take breaks when working outdoors. All right. A little prevention can save a life. In closing, good people, do know that I appreciate your time, your energy, and your input. Get you some more information on I got you. All right, on the horses. In closing, mental health affects education. Education affects opportunity. Opportunity affects crime. Crime affects public safety. Public safety affects community health. Everything is connected. I'm going to say that again. Mental health affects education. Education affects opportunities. Opportunity affects crime. Crime affects public safety. Public safety affects community health. Everything is connected. Healthy communities don't happen by accident. They happen when ordinary people decide to become active participants instead of passive observers. Let us go out the same way that we came in. with a little breathing exercise. We're going to inhale through the nose for 3, hold, release for 3, hold, and repeat twice. On 3, breathe with me. 1, 2, 3, inhale. Release. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. Our closing affirmation is, I am part of the solution. I invest in wellness. I contribute to stronger families, healthier minds, and healthier communities. I am part of the solution. I invest in wellness. I contribute to stronger families, healthier minds, and healthier communities. I am a part of the solution. I invest in wellness. I contribute to stronger families, healthier minds, and healthier communities. Until next time, family, I'm your girl Nexus. This has been another dose of Marz Majik. Keep growing, keep healing, and keep following the noise. Speaking of following the noise, make sure y'all tune in tomorrow again for Word Up Wednesdays, a live conversation series popping off on Clubhouse at 9 p.m. We are talking about emotional intelligence versus logic, man versus woman. Yes, Word Up Wednesday will take place every first and third Wednesday. Also, tune in Venus Vibes this Friday. Special guest is our brother Deem of Deem's Water-Ice. We will be live on site at 1 p.m. on Friday. So y'all make sure y'all pull up, come get you some Water-Ice, network, meet and greet your girl. If you've never seen me, never experienced me, I will be in the outside. All right. Until next time, peace, love, divine light. Yeah, it's so much going on. I just can't tell it all. Nevertheless, yeah, I'm loving it. This is we're closing out with Sirens of the Ghetto from Ancient Artifacts by our brother Orion, the Rhythmatic Word. Peace, love, divine light. We out.
Children dance to the sounds of the sirens in the ghetto. Desensitized like the constant violence in the ghetto. Children dance to the sounds of the sirens in the ghetto. Desensitized like the constant violence in the ghetto. Ambulance posted up for the long ride. Hood chauffeur with caduceus symbol on the side. 911 joking flavor blades hold it. The project's a project. We bring to uphold it now. Brother versus brother fight for streets in this game. Ask a mother if the cemetery plots look the same. Ask a father how it feels when his own house slain. How many bouquets does it take to stop the pain? So many have a best friend. His name is revenge. Genocides and homicides on both. It depends. Plus anger and its energies make enemies of friends. Then you become a world star. Your hashtag trans. Children take advantage, it becomes cool to ravage because they don't see the damage when dealers move the package, sell it wholesale. Using platforms to teach them folktales. Lack of guidance, have them dancing to the sirens.
The address for Deem's Water-Ice is 940 Radium Springs Road, Albany, Georgia, 31705. Again, Deem's Water-Ice tomorrow, 1 p.m., 940 Radium Springs Road, Albany, Georgia, 31705.
Money, money, make it all better for me. No matter how I get it, I'll pay someone to love it. And if it makes the world go round, no need for ancestors.
Those sounds that's found from hanging around Dorchester's. Social construction take the love and call it sexy. If we didn't catch an STD, that means it was a blessing.
Listen, you need to tell me I can accept no relationship with the moon man Jesse.
You reckon? If that's what daddy told them, some still do. Foundation full of holes and cracks, many fall through. Now it's a larger war and the duty that we're called to. No, it's not a game. My heritage to be playing out the same. We can make more than rain on Venus, hot and hot. Hyper